All right, thanks, Jen. So if you're tubing down the Salt River, chances are you are probably going to see these horses right here, the wild horses roaming around. About 280 of them live on the 19,000 acres of land, creating just really this iconic snapshot of the American West. Now, since 2018, the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group has been contracted by the state to take care of them, feeding them when they need it, and reducing the population through fertility control. But the group's contract, that is about to expire, and they say state officials, they are interested in reducing the herd. There's been some pushback against efforts to remove the horses from the Salt River, with some citing concerns about animal welfare and cultural heritage. So right now, Scottsdale Mayor Lisa Borowski is exploring a possible solution to this whole situation. She's joining us live here in the studio to talk about this solution. A lot of people, they love these horses. They want the very best for them. So you have this solution. Tell us about that.
So I don't have the solution yet, but I am very committed to looking for a solution, and an idea that was spawned by a group of very passionate Scottsdale residents. And they came to me and said, you know, these horses have to be removed, and it's going to be a big, you know, traumatic event for the horses, obviously, and the herd. You know, what about putting them in the preserve? And I thought, that's an interesting idea. And, you know, that was back in October during my campaign before I actually took office. And so one thing led to the next, and, you know, the group grew, and I actually ended up appointing an ad hoc mayor's committee on, you know, studying this issue. So it looks like a realistic possibility. There are a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of people that want to come out and say no right away. For me, I would like to be part of a solution, whether it's looking at the preserve, Scottsdale Preserve, to put, say, 50 to 60 horses, part of a herd, form a new herd, or just raise public awareness and how can we save these beautiful horses. So
when if you put them on the preserve, have you guys looked at how that impacts the preserve, putting, you know, a couple dozen horses there?
It would be 50 to 60, and again, this committee of residents, Scottsdale residents, who are very committed to the, you know, finding a real solution. They're worried, just as worried about the horses as they would be about the preserve. So they're coming from a great place, and they have really gone as far as they can go as a group of, you know, citizens that are looking at this, and they've done a ton of research. They believe we can get water sufficient to water them. They believe there's plenty of vegetation for the horses to feed. They've got a whole infrastructure, as you know. You said you've covered the subject before, of volunteers, including vets and people, you know, contributing to feed when there's droughts. And so they've really got a solid program going on. So they identified 500 acres in the northeastern part of the preserve that's very much like the habitat that they're in currently, and that is adjacent to Tonto National Forest. So it's definitely got legs, right? At this point, they need to continue down the road with a little more research, a lot more research, actually, if I'm being clear about that, having to do with the water supply, with the impact on the preserve, and et cetera. So.
You said there's like one section of the preserve that you kind of identified. Would then that be sectioned off so then they don't roam the entire section of the preserve?
Yes, so that 500 acres, and they've identified this preserve through a lot of visits out there and a lot of work and study. And it would be, you know, loosely fenced, meaning the horses can't get out. It's not an area that visitors to the preserve traverse. It's very remote, very difficult to get to, not any formal trails out there. So it's a great location, and they came up with the idea of, you know, in order to, because it's really enhances tourism. I mean, it's a big, huge experience. Scottsdale put out a video about just what the horses bring in terms of tourism and national attention, really. And so they came up with this cool idea that they would put cameras, you know, aimed at where they feed and water, so that people could go online and, you know, pick out a horse and really follow it. And it's kind of a cool idea.
You at the first off, you said that people have come out and said, you know, no, right away. And the whole issue has been controversial for years, what to do with the horses. Where do you see public comment and the public deciding what's going to happen here and getting that public input? How are you going to do that?
So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of, immediate, we can't do that. And, that's the easy thing to say. No is easy. Getting to yes is really my goal in all situations, honestly. And so at a minimum, I believe even the naysayers, at this point, I would love to have them come into this discussion, and I believe that they will, to find a solution, whether it's at the Scottsdale Preserve or it's not. That may not be the right place. I have my own concerns about it. So, but a couple things before we switch gears. I know we don't have much time. Having the horses out there would be great for wildfire mitigation because they clear the dead brush. Having horses out there would be great for revegetation, repopulating native species, and just, Scottsdale is the most western town, and we have to preserve our legacy and our heritage. And these horses, wild horses, preceded us being in Scottsdale, preceded the preserve. So anyone that wants to say they're not native, well, they sure beat me and all of us to Scottsdale.
Just really quick, timeline, where do you see this? What should we expect as far as how this moves forward?
We're coming, the committee is coming before the Scottsdale Preserve Commission on September 4th, so that's exciting. They've already engaged with the Conservancy, the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy, which is a big group, and they have a lot of input on what happens in the preserve, so looking forward to that. And so, I can't give you a timeline, but they're taking their time, they're doing a lot of research, and the ultimate goal is to find a resolution and keep these horses safe.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much.
Of course.
Everybody's very interested in this. They've been interested in this conversation, these horses for years, so we'll just wait and see. Of course, we'll follow it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Justin.